Greetings, HPLD users. So when we switch to the new Vega catalog coming up in April, one of the few things that's not automatically going to carry over to the new catalog is any lists that you made in the old catalog. In order to have those, you're going to have to save them and then manually rebuild them in Vega. So today I'm going to show you how to do that as painlessly as possible, which isn't painless, but it's not too bad. As a note on this, you don't need to do this to transfer your reading history. If you opted in for the catalog to track your reading history, that will transfer over to Vega automatically. You don't need to do anything. What I'm about to explain is only needed if you created your own lists in the catalog. Again, everything else should transfer over automatically. It's just if you made a list. So first, let's navigate to your list. So in order to do that, you go into your account. So if we're starting at mylibrary.us, you can go to account and we'll go into my account. I'm already logged in. You might need to log in. And from here, you can see on this menu on the left, you've got about halfway down my lists. And so I've got a few lists that I made here. And when you click on a list, you'll see that you've got some options at the top. And I'm going to go ahead and click this one, Export List. Now I'm going to show you two options for exporting and moving your list over to Vega. There's a lot of different stuff here, as you can see, and you can totally play around with these or use other methods if you're familiar. If you're familiar with Mark records and that works for you, go for it. But for the purposes here, I'm just kind of going to show two very basic methods that I think will work for like 90% of people. And so I'm going to show you one method that'll let you save the file and come back to move your lists over later, whenever you have time. And a second method if you're ready to move your lists over right now. So first, let me show you how to just save your list so that you could move it over at any time, or, then you have it if you need it later. I'm going to recommend this brief display. The formats, here, the full display has a lot of stuff in it that you probably don't need for the sake of transferring over your list or keeping track of everything. And then I'm going to just say local disk and say submit. And what that's going to do is open up a file, and then I can save that text file. So you can save this file to your computer or your phone or whatever, and come back to it later. If you don't have time to move your lists over right now, that's totally cool. And you can do this and it'll work later when you're ready. Now let me show you how I would do it if I was going to just go ahead and transfer it now. I feel, I'm prepared to do the work and so on. So first thing that I'm going to have to do, so I've got the list open. I'm still looking at this same list. And what I'm going to do is say brief display again, and I'm going to choose the option for screen. And so you can see that pretty much shows me the same thing I was looking at before in that text file, right? The other thing that I want to do is if I go back to the catalog, you can see it's got Try Vega Catalog at the top. I'm going to open Vega in a new tab, and that's going to look kind of like this. Next, I'm going to log in up here in the upper right. I'm already logged in, but you'll need to go ahead and do that. And then all you have to do is go to your list that you just displayed on the screen, copy the first line of the first title, paste it into the search, and it'll pop up right there. Now, I've already got this saved into a bookmark because this is my second attempt at this video, but all you have to do is hit this bookmark button, and it'll save it. And you can choose which list you want it to be on to, or you can make a new list if you want. So I'm going to save this to DVDs from Encore. And so then you can see it says save to DVDs from Encore. So basically from there, all you have to do is rinse and repeat, right? So I get another item from my original list, paste that whole thing in here. I'd save it for later. And it'll automatically, I believe, go to whichever list you use most recently. So, this is back to DVDs from Encore. So that's all you have to do is just keep going through the list, copy that line, paste it in, to the search on Vega and just hit that bookmark again. So you kind of just keep going through that way and save everything to a new list. If you have a long list like I do, I mean, this can take a minute, but I threw on right here, right now, the Ghost concert movie on Canopy in the background, and I think they'd gotten only up to the song Faith before I was done. The last step with this method, if your lists are carefully curated and you're concerned about losing them, I'd go ahead and just save a copy like I showed you in that sort of first set of steps. Even if you moved it over to Vega, and even if you, don't feel like you need that, if your list is very precious to you, there's no reason for me to think it will vanish from Vega, but as a librarian trained in information storage and retrieval, I just like to advocate for you to keep local copies of important stuff just in case. And that's it. That's really all you need to do to transfer everything over to Vega as far as your lists go. Everything else should just come over on its own. So this is really the only piece of work that you might need to do.